Hello, Flight Sim community. This is Beetle Beast, and we're back in Flight Sim 2024 once again in the Black Square Bonanza, the basic version of the airplane, not the turbocharged version. I went ahead and I did a cold start on the airplane, started everything up from the ground, and I did notice that it seemed to save the state of some of the items. I did read, I've done some more reading since the last time I had closed the game down, and fuel state, I guess, is tied directly to it's tied directly to the sim. So when you load in with the factory fuel, it automatically resets. So that has to be manually adjusted, at least from everything I've read. So if there's somebody who's got different information, please feel free to put it in the comments. And I decided to go ahead and just do a cold, dark start on the airplane. Had a heck of a time getting the airplane started. I think I flooded it briefly, and so then I went through the starting process to get that cleaned up. Got that done. But when we get to the end here, I'm actually going to turn this thing around and kind of do a very quick run-up. I'm curious to see if we have issues with the magnetos or not. I also just thought of a different way I can do a switch over here and use as a start button if I wanted to, with left, right, and off, and a starter. I might use that later. Besides the point, that's just for buttonology. So we're going to spin this thing around down here. Like I said, we're still on the ground in Aberdeen, Mississippi. The plan is going to be to depart Aberdeen, head out to the southeast, and go over to Tuscaloosa. It's going to be a pretty quick flight. I think it's only about 50 miles, maybe a little bit less than that. So kind of as a result of that, it shouldn't take us too terribly long to get over there and do our flight. So that's why I started up the video while we were taxiing out. Like I said, I want to do a quick little run up here just to kind of take a peek and see what's going on with the airplane, and if everything's going correctly with the airplane. So that said, you know, there's probably a checklist for this. I wonder if I actually have access to it though when I'm in the sim. I don't think I saw anything. Let's see. Yeah, it wouldn't be there. That's failure. Cabin information. That's all fine. Electrical systems. Yeah, so there's nothing there that's going to help it. I don't think it was cold enough to have been needing preheating on the engine. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it was just a little bit too much fuel in there. But like I said, we'll go ahead and do a quick run up, make sure all of our instruments are looking good, make sure our gauge is looking good, and then we'll do a run up here of the engine itself. We're showing about even there. Went ahead and I readjusted this. We do not have an ATIS down here, so somewhere in the neighborhood of that should be field elevation. Heading showing west about 265 degrees. That almost matches here. I'm going to call that good enough for our sake and argument. Might be a few degrees off, and I'm sure we could go ahead and slew it on the HSI. We just got to find out where our HSI slew controls are. I was hoping they would have been right down there. That's the HSI source, but that's not a slew, and I guarantee you they've got one in here somewhere. Ah, there we go. And when I click it back over, it's going to go back to what it is anyway. So my guess is, it's closer anyway. It's almost 200. That's still 265. So there's probably a slight discrepancy between the two. Let's go ahead and start our brake, so I don't have to sit here holding it the whole time. And before I forget about that window, let's close that up. See here, the Barrow here would end up being approximately 3025. And that shows us there at about 200 feet, which is true. We'll hit enter, approve that, acknowledge. And let's see over here if we're seeing present position, direct track. It doesn't show us where we're going yet. I know where we're going, which is going to be over. Direct to, no, we don't want to go there. We want to go to Tuscaloosa, which is, I believe, is KTCL. Tuscaloosa. So that's where we're going to be going to. See what our message says. Alright, adjust nav indicator course to 135. We'll go ahead and swing that around towards about there. We're going to leave it off of 1.8. We'll put that around to there. Let's see, we're showing a level on our turn coordinator. HSI is looking good. We're showing even here on our vertical speed. Everything else looks good. Let's go ahead and bring our power on up a little bit. I'm going to assist the brakes as a just in case. Alright. Not much change. On. It's both mags. Another mag. Ooh, we actually hit the starter. Got to hear the clutch run. Alright. I'll pull that mixture back ever so slightly. Alright, mixture set for best RPM. COE idle. Cowl flaps are open. Airplane should be pretty well good and set to go, so we can go ahead and get ourselves working out of here. Battery capacity is slowly working its way down, but everything else seems okay. We'll minimize that so it's off the yoke. And we'll see you later, Mississippi. So we said 135 degrees as we climb out. Should need that for a few minutes. And hopefully this nice, quick, easy flight is exactly that. Power's coming in. Airspeed's alive. A little bit of back pressure. Got a positive climb. Gears coming up. Go ahead and start that left turn over to 135. Trimming off some of the pressure. I'll bring the heading bug around. Gear lights are all out. We made it up. And we're not going to be going very high today. I don't see any real reason to go crazy and get up to 10,000 feet on such a short flight. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Tuscaloosa, 57 miles away, 22 minutes en route is the estimation. So I can say, so far, like I was telling you guys yesterday while flying this thing, I've been really enjoying it. I'm kind of hopeful. So originally I wasn't going to do a video, a cross-country video today. My original plan was to do an IFR video using this airplane, which I very much intend on doing because I think it's going to be a fun airplane to fly IFR in and shoot some approaches. It's just so well equipped to do exactly that. And the airplane flies relatively stable, so I think it'll be a pretty solid platform for shooting instrument approaches, going missed. You've got enough complexity in the systems that you'll be pulling up gear and flap, opening up cowl flaps, etc. So that'll be kind of fun to do. But I haven't, the truth is I looked across the country, there really wasn't any IFR. I could have set it up with static weather, but I was really kind of hoping to do it with the real deal, and there wasn't any, so it didn't happen. So that's just kind of how it goes, I guess. So we're going to wait for a kind of a bad weather day somewhere. There was like one up in the northeast, way up in Vermont. But it was one airport and they only had an RNAV, which shooting an RNAV with these old GPSs is totally possible. We used to do them as an RNAV, LNAV approach. You don't get LNAV, VNAV information out of that, obviously, like you can out of some of the other aircraft. But I did my initial check rides in an airplane that was very less equipped than this. And we shot RNAV approaches and those things all the time. So Anywho, that said, I think that that'll be something that we will do. We'll do it here in the near future. I'm just waiting for a place that has more approaches so that we can shoot an ILS, maybe shoot an RNF, maybe shoot not an NDB. I don't really want to shoot any of those, but a VOR approach. We could even do a VOR as an overlay, etc. We can show how to do either of them. And I know that I've done, like I said, one video in conventional aircraft, which was in the 185. This thing is very similarly equipped to that Carinata 185 that they have as a factory build inside a flight sim. There's a little bit more systems depth and knowledge that's in this airplane that's built in case you want to go crazy. I also thought it could be kind of fun to build in a flight with some instrumentation failures in this airplane. Specifically, you could run pitot-static failures in this thing, but I would love to see some of gyroscopic failures for attitude indicator and for the HSI. I think that would be really great. This one here, of course, with the electric attitude indicator, electric HSI, you're not getting the vacuum. So I assume that one's electric. That one's DC, that one's air. So you would lose your attitude indicator there if you lost a vacuum pump. However, you would lose your HSI if you had an electrical failure. So the difference, of course, here with a lot of airplanes that are out there, especially some of the older legacy airplanes, you have vacuum powered gyros powered off of the vacuum pump, which are air powered then. And if you were to lose a vacuum pump, you could end up in a situation where both of your primary instrumentation here in the middle goes out. And I wanted to see how they would fail actually in the airplane, in the sim, because I know how they fail in real airplanes and I know how they fail in real sims. And they're very different than simply flying around partial panel. And I really want to talk about that inside of a video that goes over it. This may not be the airplane for that, because of the split systems. And let's talk about that real quick. The fact that these two systems are split, the fact that you have a vacuum powered gyro on top and a DC electric powered gyro on the bottom is for redundancy, as opposed to you losing both systems. If you have a failure of your electrical system, you still have attitude information. If you have a failure of your vacuum pump and your air system, you still have electrical power. So you're able to utilize some of these instruments as backups for each other in the instance that you have a failure. You can see whether the airplane's turning or climbing, etc., using standard or standby backup instrumentation. Essentially, that's what it does. It gives you the ability to utilize the system in case of an instrumentation failure or a system failure, which is huge. I can probably, and what we could do, we could turn them both off, and that would definitely do it as well. It's just not the path that I would rather do. I'd rather see it as they fail in flight and watch kind of what happens with them, and the purpose of the difficulty of recognizing it and controlling the airplane without relative visuals to the ground. Because when you see that in a sim and you start getting erroneous information and you don't have a physical way of blocking those instruments out of your scan, that's how people get themselves in trouble. That's how people get hurt. So I would definitely say for anyone who's out there flying around, if you're flying in a small airplane, carry something as a card that you can use to block those out. Sometimes sticky notes work great, but you need to have the ability to block out bad instruments in the instance that something goes wrong, because if you can't get them out of your scan, that's how people get in trouble. They start looking at them, trying to fly the airplane by them without realizing that what's going on, the information that they have is wrong. And if the information you have is wrong, your ability to accurately fly the airplane is gone. And we've lost a lot of pilots as a result of that exact same phenomenon. So instrument failures are a big deal, and that's the reason that they're set up in this way in this airplane. And if you had your own airplane, you were trying to fly it yourself, you're trying to own it yourself, and you wanted to do something, that'd be a major upgrade to make, breaking up your instrumentation system so that you don't run into a failure of 2 of your 3 gyroscopic instruments at one time. No, anyway, that's it. That's what I had to say about it. And go ahead and pull us back to about 24 inches and 2400 RPM. Airplane's running good, running smooth, tracking pretty well true. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a good flying airplane. So we'll zip on over here, 34 miles to go, and kind of enjoy our escape from Mississippi and our welcome into Alabama. I'm not sure what our next leg is after this, but like I said, we're making our way pretty quick. We're making good progress. It helps that these states here are all very long as opposed to very wide, because in moving from west to east, you're able to get across them, obviously significantly quicker. And I do like getting across the states, getting ourselves on this journey, because once it's done, I'm done with it. I won't be doing that video anymore, and that'll be great. I kind of look forward to that too. I kind of look forward to the completion of these, because for every second that it takes less time to produce these, I guess, than it does to create any of our the training type videos that I make. Only because when I'm making training videos, you're stuck editing, adding in background information, typing up notes, etc., which they take significantly longer. But I think they're far more useful to the community. And I get a little bit more out of that just because I do enjoy the instruction piece of flying, which is why you get to hear me talk so long, so regularly, because it's a byproduct of flight instruction. You get used to speaking. That's literally 90% of what they try to teach flight instructors. Hey, you need to be talking. You need to tell guys what they're doing. You need to see what they're doing. You need to relay it. You can't just control the airplane. You've got to be speaking about what it is you're doing and how you're controlling the airplane so people can learn from you. And I like the sound of my own voice. So there's always that too. Decent little clouds. There was a little area kind of around Huntsville where there was a set of clouds according to the initial setup, and I'm assuming that's kind of what I'm seeing over there. Everything else was clear and just really kind of beautiful. And like I said, the entire country right now is VFR, with the exception of a few small pockets. One spot maybe in Colorado, and like I said, a couple spots in New York and Vermont. But even those areas that were IFR there were really small pockets, and they weren't low IFR. They were all high cloud bases, snow. One area had low visibility, I think a mile and a half maybe, but then like 2,500 foot broken ceilings with snow falling, and it's like, oh, well, that's realistic and useful. It's just not hard IFR, and you start flying an airplane that's not ready for snow and ice. I could do that. That could be actually kind of fun too, to see how this airplane builds and sheds ice and snow in comparison to some of the others. The Duke would be really fun with that, because of course you can shed ice from, or not the Duke, the Baron that they have. If you go shedding ice from the propeller, it tends to impact the fuselage of the airplane. So when you turn on the propeller de-ice, it's going to fling that ice off once it melts, and when it hits the airplane, that should be captured. If they made what everyone has called one of the greatest flight sim aircraft out there in terms of physics simulation, that could be fantastic. And like I said, while there's not a ton of systems here, there's a lot going on. You saw the, I mean, we can bring it up real quick. The images of the engine. I mean, it's simulating the engine that's running, what's going on with the alternator, what's going on with the battery, how the battery's charging. There's also thermal dynamics for the battery that have been incorporated into the game, and it's calculating what the battery temperature is based off of the rate of charge and based off of the state of the battery if it's depleted from a hard start. You've got the fuel systems, you've got the electric pumps. I mean, it's there, and it's really, really well modeled. I mean, it's really impressive. They put a ton of time into this. So, like I said, from my perspective, you guys did an absolutely phenomenal job with this. And I think I'm even seeing, if you look here with the constant speed propeller, you can see the oil pressure or the oil reservoir right there on the piston, which is what's used to change the pitch angle of the blades. And of course your oil pump here and how it works its way through the engine, etc. So you have a failure here, you're going to have a failure there, you're going to have a failure here. The engine's going to stop, so you don't have to worry about that. But you're going to lose control of the propeller too. So, you know, the propellers in these things are probably preloaded by spring tension. So what you have, we can get into systems a little bit more. You have oil pressure being pushed from the oil pump and through the engine into the propeller hub and into the prop governor and the actual hub of the propeller itself. And it's being used to fight spring tension, which is going to be forcing the blades in one direction or the other. And then in order to balance those two forces out, you have counterweights that are actually on the blades that are used to help ensure that if you lost all the oil pressure, spring tension is going to go in one direction, and then the blades are going to go, in this case here, to a high pitch scenario. Normally with twin engine airplanes, you end up with ones going to a low pitch or feather position in the instance that you lose oil pressure, because guess what? That means you also lost your engine. So if you lost your engine, you want to be able to feather that propeller out to nothingness. And I'm almost certain that's correct, that it goes to a low pitch. It doesn't go to feather, but it goes to a low pitch position. Because having all that propeller out there in drag, as the airplane kind of windmills, you end up with additional drag, pulls the airplane back on one side, minimizes your rudder authority, and causes the airplane to want to yaw in the direction of that failed engine, and kind of get pulled around by the good operating engine, which becomes significantly more difficult for a person to control as they're flying around. So anyway, all that said, that's kind of what you can expect. If you hear any funny bell noises, that's a cat that is totally chilling on me and hitting the yoke, making us descend. And yeah. So here we are. We're 10 miles away. That is the town right up there. We're not very high, so that shouldn't be too big of a factor. We'll just have to get ourselves descending down towards the airport. Let's see if we can pull up information on the airfield real quick. I know it's lower than us, so let's go on down Tuscaloosa Regional. Not what I wanted. Not what I wanted either. I think I saw nav 1. Give me back to nav. Nav. Alright, nav 4. Nav 1. Let's see if we can go through and find any information on that airport that I'm going to. Airport. Not the airport I want. We're going to have the wrong airfield in here now, and it's going to just be an absolute mess. I do know that the airport is on this side of town for Tuscaloosa. I would just love to see if I could find information on what the winds are doing down there. Tuscaloosa. Elevation, 170 feet. So there we go. We need 1,200 feet. There's the runways. See if we can get a frequency. Ground tower approach clearance. Unicom ASOS 13282.
Kilo Tango Charlie Lima automated weather observation 1600 Zulu. Wind 24 at 7. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 14C. Dew point tree C. Altimeter tree 028. Kilo Tango Charlie Lima automated weather observation 1600 Zulu.
Alright, you can see the airport right there in front of us. That's where we're going.
Visibility 10.
Let's see, towers 126.3. Let's see how this works.
14C.
Getting some funky winds kicking me around.
Kilo Tango.
Oh, you know what? I don't think I have the button set up for that, do I? Yeah, I no longer have my button set up for it. We're going to fly over midfield and land to the southwest over there. I close this up so I can get it out of my view. And here is our airport. There's 22, 23, 22 it looks like. That's the one we're landing on. So we'll fly over here, make left downwind, land on that runway right there. Alright, power's out, props forward, speed's good, gears coming down. 3 green lights. Watch that descent rate. Power's all the way out. Set it for a base leg. Inside of flap speed. First flap's coming in. Looks like an appropriately sized tower down there. And rolling base to final. Set rate's a little bit much, but that's okay. We're getting in close. Final flaps are in. Field is made. Power's coming out. Nicely done. And I'll go ahead and establish brakes. Not all the brakes, but some of them. And we can make this turn off. Beautiful little airplane. Alright, flaps are up. And that's it. That looks like an FBO right ahead, so that's what we're going to roll into. Nice, quick, easy flight. You didn't even have to listen to me yap for all that long. Hopefully that was enjoyable for anyone who's watching. And if you got a question about anything that we did there, please let me know. I swear I will get better at using the old KLN 90B here at some point in the future, because, well, if I keep using it, that's what happens. Is that guy got a door open? Let's taxi on up to that. I've never seen that before. Almost looks like a jump plane. Interesting image choice. Very interesting. Huh. I dig it. It's not really a door that's open. It's just a little curtain. Anyway, hey, welcome to Tuscaloosa. Welcome to Alabama. We will continue on this journey moving towards the southeast on the next leg. Until then, you guys have fun. Enjoy your gaming. Put anything you have in the comments. Happy simming. We'll see you next time. Take care.